Well, what that looked like is when my clothes were clean, I didn't fold them and I didn't put them in the drawer. I slept on a full-size bed and I would literally sleep on half of my bed because the other half was literally piles of like clean clothes. Welcome to the Key to Consistency, where your host, Rakia Collins, after dealing with years of her own inconsistent behavior, is now on a quest to help you save time and cultivate your best self by mastering consistency in your life, one area at a time. Today's episode, we are going to be exploring the relationship between consistency and home organization. So I want to let you guys know, as with every single episode, there is never ever any judgment or any condemnation. Where you are on your journey is where you are. We are all trying to strive to be more consistent human beings. And I wanted to start off with that disclaimer more as a reminder to myself, because I am going to tell you guys a story about my home organization journey. And just know, guys, I've come a very long way. So when I was in middle school, I did not like, and loathe is probably the best term to use, folding my clothes. Like, it was just a problem for me. I could not understand why I had to fold my clothes, put them in the drawer, take those same clothes out because I'm probably going to wear them sometime that week, and then throw them in the hamper and then repeat that cycle. I don't know. It was just something about that cycle that just really bothered me, right? So what did that actually look like for me? Well, what that looked like is when my clothes were clean, I didn't fold them and I didn't put them in the drawer. I slept on a full-size bed and I would literally sleep on half of my bed because the other half was literally piles of like clean clothes. And I would pick from those piles. Now, I know some of you guys are like, where are your parents? Let me tell you, I got in trouble. Like, it was like always, it was constant, but I was literally a good student in school. So trying to play the mind games, like, well, if I'm getting good grades, why does this matter? And anyway, long story short, I tell you guys that to say, where I am now is literally leaps and bounds from that. And I do BT dubs, put my clothes in drawers now. I do try my best to fold them. I'm still not the best folder, probably because I struggled when I was younger, but I do put an effort forth to fold them and to put them in their proper drawers. So hopefully that will let you guys know that the person that's trying to give out some helpful guidance to you guys was literally in that position. So when I tell you that now I am in the space of going through and organizing my own home, for those of you guys who have a Container Store near you, I like to shop there. Like, I like to go and kind of see what new containers are there, right? And if you've never been to the Container Store, you have no idea what I'm talking about. I would encourage you to Google the Container Store. And then hopefully if you have one in your area, just go take a look. Just go browse, go window shop. You'll be surprised about being in a store that is full of organizational items. It'll make you want to be organized. Like, it's interesting. And it's not just a phenomenon that just happens. Literally, from the research that I've done, studies have shown that a well-organized living space significantly reduces stress, and it also enhances your mental well-being, right? A clutter-free environment really helps us reduce the cognitive load on our brains and allows us to focus better and really feel like less overwhelmed. And that really comes from researchers at Princeton University. What they found was that physical clutter competes for our attention, and it ultimately leads to a decreased performance and increased stress levels, right? And then of course, the opposite of that is an organized home promotes a sense of control and tranquility. And I know that most of us can relate to that when we are at home and we are coming home and we come into our home and we see that the kitchen isn't clean. We see papers everywhere. It's just disorganized, right? Before you can even drop your bag, before you can, if you're cooking that night, before you can start cooking, it's just everything is just everywhere, and it's just very, very frustrating. That is something that I experienced, and I will tell you that it's certainly not fun. It's not fun. And I'll say, as mentioned earlier, it didn't bother me for the good majority of my life. Like, yes, I was doing that when I was in middle school. And as I got to high school and got to college, I got progressively better. But clutter did not bother me until I'd say maybe the last couple of years. That's when clutter and when things weren't in the right space really started to bother me. But even though it bothered me a couple years ago, it wasn't until maybe 6 months ago where I really was like, okay, Rakia, you have to do better. Like, I ordered a key ring holder to where you walk into the home, you know where you put your keys. Like, it's simple things like that I will be completely transparent with you guys. I was like, people that buy this stuff, like, man, who are they? Like, why are they behind this type of stuff? But I kid you not, when I am like in a rush and I am like heading out the door, it is now second nature for me to know where to go for my keys versus before. I was like, I would toss my keys on the counter. I would put them next to my computer if I was like walking in the house and I had to hop on the computer. Like, they would just be everywhere. And because they were everywhere, I didn't know where to go to get them. And when I needed them, I was always in a time crunch. And that again helps with that stress. It helps increase your stress because when you don't know where things are and you need it, that's stressful. Like when you are in a rush to go somewhere and you're like, where are my keys? And you're literally running around your home trying to find your keys. So I know that buying a key ring is like a very simple example, but hopefully you guys can see that it's important to help you stay organized as buying the small things, or even if you don't buy anything, if you just create a space in your home and you say, hey, like, we know that this is where our keys go. They don't go anywhere else, right? Whatever that may look like for you, I would just encourage you to have a space for everything and make sure that everything stays in its proper space. It took me a while, again, to get to this point, but it has literally done leaps and bounds for my mentals because I've been able to walk into my home. I know exactly where everything goes. I don't want shoes in my place. Like, it's just become a whole thing now. And it's just interesting. So outside of your mental well-being, physical clutter also has an impact on your physical well-being as well. So when you think about your living space and when your living space is cluttered and it's disorganized, it can lead to anxiety and even hinder your ability to relax and to sleep. Right? There were some studies that were published and conducted by the National Sleep Foundation, and they've shown that a cluttered bedroom can disrupt your sleep patterns, leading to poor sleep quality, right? And then on the other hand, again, if you're organized and you have an organized bedroom that are free from distractions, it can promote restful sleep, which is vital for physical health. While we are on that note, this isn't necessarily related to organization, but something that really helped me as of late was I got some blackout curtains in my bedroom, and it's been amazing, right? Like, I am used to some light, so I don't close them like all the way, but I close them enough to where most of the light is like not in the bedroom, and it just really helps shift and change the atmosphere. So even if you live in a space where you can't necessarily stop the light that's coming into your home, I would encourage you to, on a side note, explore the blackout curtains because they are very, very real and they're super duper helpful. So, of course, when we think about your mental well-being and your physical well-being, like that's all great and dandy, but like, how does this actually impact you, right? From a productivity perspective? Because if you're going to go out of your way to make sure your home is super organized, we ultimately want to know, what is this going to produce in my life outside of the mental and the physical benefits? Well, it does have a strong impact on your productivity as well, right? So clutter has been shown to really decrease our ability to focus and complete tasks efficiently. And I found this study pretty cool. This study comes from the Journal of Neuroscience, and it reveals that excessive clutter can overstimulate the brain and can make it harder to concentrate, right? So what does that mean when we talk about overstimulating the brain? As mentioned earlier, when you walk into your home and you see paper spread out everywhere, you see that the kitchen isn't clean, you just see everything everywhere, it causes your mind to kind of go through and say, okay, what do I need to clean first? What do I need to do first? How can I fix this? And it increases your anxiety, as discussed earlier. And you come home in that same like friendly mood anymore, right? Like necessarily have the same smile and the same disposition that you might have. Organizing my home, and my home has gotten to a point where it's extremely clean, right? For people who've been in my life, my personal life, and they really know me, what I found so funny was that this person that I love came over and they said to me, they said, wow, like they walked in and I was like, hey, if you could please put your key on the key rack and don't just kind of throw it on the counter. Because again, that's what I would do for my home. I would throw my own keys on the counter. And so I said, hey, can you put your keys up there? And can you also kind of put your shoes at the front door next to my shoes with like the shoe rack? And literally, I kid you not, like the person kind of looked at me and they said, okay, right? So they did all that. And then they actually also had some house shoes as well, because I told the person that they were coming over to make sure that they brought some house shoes in their book bag with them. And so they brought them and they were like, okay, so now it makes sense why you told me to bring the house shoes, because normally, again, I'd walk through my own house with my regular shoes on. And so as you treat your own home, that's how other people will treat it as well. It was just an entire like shift in terms of, wow, things are really different. So the person came in, they sat down, they were like, wow, like it is very clean in here. Like it's not even like, okay, I see a little bit of clutter, but it's like, wow, like it looks like someone came in here and like professionally cleaned and like put things up, and it smells really good in here. Not to say my home would normally smell bad, but I did just as a part of cleaning, I sprayed like some Lysol and I put on my diffuser that had the essential oils in it. And so just really, again, putting forth an effort to make sure that my home was super clean, because what I realized as I was cleaning was when my home looks and smells and feels good, it really does something for me. Like, yes, I enjoy other people coming into my home and kind of seeing the difference and appreciating the difference, but I have to live here every single day. And so anyway, back to the person. The person was just like, wow, like mind you, they've known me for years now. And they're like, wow, like I can't believe that you did this. Like you really, like I really feel like there are certain things that I don't want to do. Like, for example, me and the person were going to different stores throughout the day. And so as we were going to those different stores, we'd have to come in and out of my home, right? And so when we came back into the home, the other person was like, hey, like, I really want to now stop at the door and take my shoes off. Like, I don't even feel comfortable anymore walking in your home. And I want to respect your boundaries because of the way you have your home set up. And I don't tell you guys that because I want you to care about how other people feel about your home or about you, but I hope you guys can extrapolate at least two different points about that as it relates to consistency. The first point is that what you consistently do is what people will pick up on, right? As I told you guys, this person was throwing their keys and their phone and their stuff on my counter, because that's how I did my own stuff. I put my purse on the counter. I put my keys on I just threw them on the counter, right? And this person was doing the exact same thing because that's what they saw me do on a consistent basis. That's how I treated my home, right? In the moment that I decided to pivot and say, no, like this is no longer how I treat my home. And therefore, by extension, you aren't going to treat my home this way, right? And that is something that I would encourage you guys to think through as you're trying to build out what this actually looks like for you. Make sure that you're building out your home consistencies in a way that says, hey, I'm going to organize my home in this fashion and I'm going to consistently do this, right? And I know I've given this example 3 times, but it's the simplest example that I can think of. Like if you go and you buy that key ring, consistently put your key on the key ring, right? Make sure you build up the habit of doing that consistently. Even though it's something small, you will find that because you do it consistently, when you ask other people to do it or when other people do not do it, that either live in your home or they're a guest and they're coming to your home, it'll really like take you back like, wait, this is out of place, right? And you'll find that it's easier for you to, because you respect your own boundaries and have been doing so consistently, it's easier for you to then call it out to someone else and say, hey, this isn't how we operate in my home, right? Like we don't put our keys here. We put our keys on the key ring. And again, that's a very simple example. And then the other thing that I wanted to point out as it relates to consistency in your home really kind of falls more in line with the items that we've already kind of talked through, is that when you consistently show up as your best self in every single area of your life, it impacts the way you show up in the world, right? Your home is first and foremost the place where, for practical examples, you eat there, you get clean there, you sleep there. It is really where you spend a good bit of your life, in your home, right? And you want to spend your home and you want to spend your life in a home that you're proud of. Like you are proud of the fact that, hey, my home is clean. Like you are proud of the fact that, hey, my home doesn't look like a tornado just ran through it. And not because of the impact that it has on other people, but because of those benefits that we listed earlier. You want to have increased productivity and you want to be able to increase your efficiencies, right? Especially when we think about how fast paced this world is. And the last thing you want to come home and do is be frustrated because your home is adding to your level of frustration and stress. Like, let's leave that outside. Let's leave that with work. Let's leave that with these other facets and areas of our life. But your home should not also be a source of your stress as well, right? It shouldn't be something that brings you dis-ease and unease. It should really be a space where you are excited to be at home because you know that your home is a representation of you and it does it very, very well, right? One of the things that I think about when I think about home organization is the overall amount of time that we spent searching for things. And to go back to, I guess, this episode's favorite example of the key ring, I found out, which was so funny, on IKEA, they actually posted an article and the article was, how much time do we spend searching for things around our home? Right? And what's so weird is that the average time that we spend looking for something is between 1 minute and 10 minutes, right? And that doesn't necessarily seem bad when you look at it on an individual basis, right? But if you think about how much time, how often you lose things and how much time you spend doing that, that adds up to an average of 5,000 hours that is spent looking for things. That's an average, again, depending on how often you lose things, how long it takes you to find them. If you find them quicker than 1 minute, or it takes you longer than 10 minutes to find the thing that you're looking for, right? And what does 5,000 hours equate to? That adds up to 6.5 months. I just want to let that sink in, right? Depending on how often you lose things and how long it takes you to find those things, you can spend up to 5,000 hours looking for your things. And of course, they have these nifty new inventions now, like air tags, etc., where you can put something on a particular item and then you can find it, right? I think that's great, but you can't air tag your entire home unless you have the money to do so, and by all means do so, right? But home organization is a lot cheaper, and it'll also give you additional benefits to just take the step and just work on keeping your home as clean as possible, right? And I would encourage you to don't look at your home holistically if you're new to this journey. If you are new to this journey and you don't even know where you want to start, take it room by room. Start with your closet, then go to your kitchen, then go to your bathroom, then go to your living room, right? And I would encourage you along the way, look at what other people have done. Look at DIY projects if you're into that, right? Look on Pinterest and see how other people have organized their home and what they've done. It could be something as simple as like utilizing a vertical storage if you live in a relatively small apartment, or how you can maximize your pantry space. Like those are things that you're not the first person who's like tried to revamp their home and do some home organization. So don't be afraid to kind of borrow from what's worked best for other people and implement that in your own home where you can, because that's really where you're going to shine and really thrive. So I want to talk about some things that I am trying to include in my home organization. I want to get to the point, guys, where I'm a labeler, right? And I know you guys are like, Ricky, what are you talking about? A labeler. Like, I want to be one of those people who you may see them on social media where they have their spice rack and their spice rack is labeled. And they take the time to put the spices out of their store-bought containers into these home containers. And I like that for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, I think that it just provides a different aesthetic that, hey, I've taken the time to take my spices out of these containers that may look different, that may be in these different shapes and these different sizes. And from these containers, I've taken the initiative to also label them, right? And I just think that is just so cute. So I wanted to share that just with you guys in case you either have ideas or you've done something like that. Please feel free to reach out on social media, especially on my Instagram at The Key to Consistency. I'd love to learn and hear more about how you guys have implemented home organization ideas, what you've done. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please feel free to drop a comment in the comment section as well. Again, we are all on this home organization journey together. And so the last thing that I really want to leave with you guys is one of the major ways we can make our homes organized and keep them organized. It's not just about the setup, it's also about the sustainability, is to ensure that you are practicing these habits on a daily basis, right? When you think about what you do on a daily basis, if you're the type of person who, similar to me, you work from home, so you cook throughout your day, right? Like, are you cleaning up behind yourself as you cook, or do you just let your dishes just kind of pile in the sink and then you take care of them the next day, right? Like, thinking about how you can develop these small daily disciplines to say, what, rather than cleaning on a weekly or a bi-weekly basis, I'm going to just slowly but surely begin to make sure that my room is always organized. I'm going to make up my bed if you don't currently do something like that, right? Like, if you think about your life and you think about your goal of home organization, and yes, I'm putting this as a goal for you, but no, seriously, if you think about wanting to keep your home more organized, what is something that you can adopt and do that you can begin to develop into a daily discipline? And you can begin to say, this is something that I am going to do on a daily basis. I'm going to cook and then clean up immediately after myself. I'm going to, rather than letting dishes pile up, I'm going to begin to put them in the dishwasher and then run that dishwasher every single night, right? Like, what is it that you can do in order to make sure that you are developing consistency in this area as a daily practice and not just something that you're doing on a one-off basis? One thing I do want to also encourage you guys to think about is the 1 in, 1 out rule, right? So what does that mean practically? That means if you buy something new, think about something old that you can get rid of to avoid unnecessary accumulation, right? I'm not trying to make you into a minimalist, but I do want to say that there's no reason to have 3 different blenders by 3 different brands, right? Like if you are going to buy something new, like a new kitchen gadget or a new article of clothing, or something like that, make sure that you are looking at what you currently have and saying, is this something that I still need, especially if I'm going to buy something new as well. Right. Also encourage you, especially if you have a whole family, right? It's 5 or 6 of you guys living in a house, including a dog or maybe a cat, right? Like you have a full household. Involve your family in this new home organization process that you're trying to put into your home, right? Like don't exclude anyone, because you may have some people who this could be really up their sleeve, right? You can assign them different responsibilities and tell them like, hey, you guys are always on social media, like look on social media for some ways for us to help organize this home, right? And you'll be surprised that they will likely want to jump in, because now we're making this into a fun activity. There could be something that someone did that's DIY that you could build with your kids, right? Like the possibilities are endless when you look at home organization as not just a chore, but you really look at it for the benefits that it can and will provide to you and to your family as well. And of course, guys, as always, celebrate the small wins, right? When you go a week and you put your key on that key ring, like celebrate that. Don't feel like, man, it's just this one thing, but I messed up on 10 other things. It doesn't matter. Like celebrate the thing that you've done well, and you've done well consistently, because now you've developed a daily habit. And that is ultimately what this podcast is about. And that's really what life is about, because once you begin to develop and get comfortable with those small disciplines, they ultimately just feed over into every area of your life. And so hopefully from listening to today's podcast, I know I told a lot more like personal stories than normal. So hopefully you guys are able to just learn from my experience and really glean how you want to include home organization in your personal home. And so as always, guys, I do want to end today's episode with a Bible verse. So this verse comes from Proverbs chapter 24, verse 27. And it says to put your outdoor work in order and get your fields ready. After that, build your house. And why I chose this verse and why I love this verse is that it really emphasizes the importance of proper planning and organizing prior to undertaking a task, right? Like you have to put your outdoor work in order and get your fields ready. And then after that, you can build your house, right? And I love that. I love the book of Proverbs in general. It's just an amazing book of all around like wisdom. But again, hopefully you guys found an action item, or you heard a story and it tickled you. Hopefully there was something as a part of today's episode that you were able to glean and learn from. And remember, guys, consistency breeds mastery and transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of The Key to Consistency. Wherever you are listening to this podcast, it would mean everything to me if you could rate it, review it, reach out to me on Instagram. Would love your feedback, would love to hear anything you like, anything you don't like. Please feel free to share this episode with someone that you think could benefit from it. And until next time, bye guys.